Hello and welcome. I'm Vincent Makori. This is Africa 54. We begin tonight in Senegal, where U.S. President Barack Obama arrived on the first leg of his three-nation tour of Africa. Mr. Obama's first official event was a meeting with Senegalese President Macky Sall at the presidential palace in Dakar. Dakar residents lined the streets of the West African nation to get a glimpse of the American president as his motorcade made its way to the palace. Hundreds of boisterous onlookers welcomed Mr. Obama with traditional drums and dance. Many Senegalese are expressing hope that President Obama might use his second term as a second chance with the continent and work with an increased focus on African policy. Now, following their meeting at the presidential palace, the two presidents held a joint press conference where Mr. Obama spoke about the tremendous strides being made in West Africa on improving democratic governance and empowering citizens. He specifically mentioned Senegal, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Ivory Coast, and Niger and Ghana. VOA West African correspondent Anne Luke is in Senegal, and she joins us now via Skype from Dakar with more on President Obama's visit. Anne, welcome to Africa 54.
Hi, Vincent.
Hi. Now, it's been a long day, but share with us what has been perhaps a headline-grabbing thing about the president's visit.
Yeah, I would say, the talk about security, the talk about increasing trade and everything between U.S. and Senegal, U.S. and the region, it is important. But, the topic of homosexuality came up in the press conference, and I think that might grab the headlines in Senegal, where homosexuality remains a very controversial and sensitive topic. President Obama was asked, what he thinks, whether or not he has put pressure on, Senegalese President Macky Sall to legalize homosexuality. President Obama said it didn't come up during their bilateral talks, but he did offer his general point of view, he said, to African nations. He said that he understands that everyone has different cultures and different values and that we should respect diversity. Yeah. But he said his ultimate conclusion was that everyone should be equal before the law. Now, when it came to President Macky Sall of Senegal to respond, he said that Senegal is not ready to consider legalizing homosexuality, even though it remains a tolerant country.
Yes. Now, we know one of the major focuses of President Obama's visit is the economic cooperation between the U.S. and African nations. Senegal is not one of the biggest business or economic partner of the United States. How does that play out?
The choice of Senegal was really about reinforcing democracy and institutions. That said, and President Obama, because he wants to highlight these ideals, is limited from visiting perhaps some of the more economic giants of the region and the continent. But, even at this meeting, President Obama talked about, how we need to make trade easier. We need to make investment easier between the U.S. and Africa. Things like renewing and improving AGOA, measures like that. And I think President Macky Sall hit it on the head, too, when he said that, even just the visit of Barack Obama, even just having him in Senegal, having him in the region, is a pretty powerful endorsement of the region. You can't get a better piece of marketing than having Barack Obama come and say, Senegal's open for business, Africa's open for business.
Very briefly, the color, so drums and dance, how was the welcome?
Yeah, pretty exciting welcome. It's been interesting in the press. The Senegalese have been kind of marveling at the extensive security detail of the president. There's been a lot of coverage of sniffer dogs and snipers, and people say Dakar's never been so clean or so well surveilled.
Let's hope it remains like that in the days to come. Anne Luke, thank you very much. That's Anne Luke, our West Africa correspondent, joining us there live from Dakar.